Okay, this is day 18 review. Doing my disembodied head imitation here. We're camped out in an old town called Chalice Hot Springs. It's a beautiful campground. It's a full moon, perfectly clear night, chilly, not too bad. Might have to do like one hot hand or something just to kind of, you know, keep things from getting too bad. But the ride today was incredible. We finally got out of Boise. And, don't get me wrong, we had a good time in Boise. You know, it's a cool city. The walking around, everything was really neat. But we got up this morning, got out at a decent time, headed back down to Mountain Home, or not Mountain Home, can't talk, southern Boise, where we were staying previously. Gassed up and headed out on Highway 21 towards Idaho City. Now, normally you could run 21 all the way to Stanley, I believe, a little town called Stanley. And that's what we had planned to do. And it's supposed to be an incredible ride. We got to Idaho City and started heading out. Saw a road closed sign. It's like, oh, great. Surely not, because this is like the only highway through the whole area. And if you can't take this highway, you got to go way, way around to get anywhere because of the way the mountains run. So we kept riding, and it was a really awesome ride to get up there. And sure enough, we get to a sign. There's a nice lady sitting there in a chair reading a book. And she stands up and tells us we got to turn around. And I'm talking to her, and she's telling me there's different ways you can go over the mountains, blah, blah, blah. The roads aren't too bad, which, you never know. Sometimes the locals tell you a road's not bad, and it's not. And sometimes they tell you a road's not bad, and it's the worst thing you've ever seen. Got a bunch of geese flying over, even though it's the middle of the night. Anyway, I talked to her for a bit, and she's like, yeah, your timing's kind of bad because we're almost done. We'll be done tomorrow, and the road will be open tomorrow. And I'm like, unbelievable. So we had to backtrack. Got the drone out, flew it back down the valley, got some shots of Sarah and Daniel going back down the road, which is kind of cool. It's just a really beautiful day. Went all the way back down to Idaho City, and there's a little dirt road that heads out of town that's pretty wide, pretty well maintained. Sarah is at this point, she's just nervous about anything dirt, but she's riding really well. I can't get her to understand that. I haven't seen hardly a single bobble, but she acts like she's flying off the bike and stuff. But I let Daniel get ahead, and I followed her and talked to her, and I just kind of left her alone for a while and let her ride, and she did really good. We eventually got to a town, Placerville, I don't know how they say it. I didn't ask the locals. Old mining town, really cool. Had these two old museums. There were two of the three buildings that are original buildings left that haven't burned during one of the three times the whole town burned to the ground. And those buildings have been there since the 1860s or early 1860s. Really cool. One of them was a saloon. One of them was like a mercantile. Had the prison downstairs in the mercantile. Had big, huge steel doors on it to cover the windows and stuff at night to keep people from breaking in and stealing. The saloon had a bunch of stuff in it that wasn't there originally, but the floor was original. The wooden floor was still original, 150 some odd years old or whatever it is. So that was pretty cool. And the guy that curates the two museums just happened to see us pull up and stop and came over and was like, hey, y'all want to see the museums before I have... I got to get out of town and get to Idaho City by 5 o'clock, but I got some time. So he unlocked the museums and gave us a personal tour of all the stuff. And it was pretty cool. I took a ton of pictures. It'll take me forever to upload them. We don't have real good Wi-Fi here at the campground. So anyway, talked to a local guy named Jim. Real nice guy. Been living there for a long time, old, retired. And he's like, well, so what you want to do is go down this road here. Go over the mountain and turn when you get to here. And great directions, we followed them out of town. They were working on the road. So right out of town, there was a little bit of sand, wasn't bad. And then we got to this spot where, man, Sarah crushed it. They were big, chunky rocks. When I got to those, I was a little concerned that she might not get through it. It wasn't that long. It was 150, maybe 200 feet. You know, it's one of those things where I'm looking at it and say, okay, here's my line. Oh, wait, no, I'm way over here. How about this line instead? You know, it's just bike bouncing all over the place, and she gets quiet, so which is usually a good sign. And I roll out of the gravel, squat down right quick so I can see out of my mirrors and look behind me, and I see her come rolling out of the gravel. And you know, she's not a happy camper, but she did it really well. I mean, she really did. She's doing all the things right, you know, standing on the bike, keeping her elbows loose, not putting her weight on the handlebars, you know, using her knees and her back to hold herself up and let the bike bounce around. So we got through that and went through a few sections of sand, and then we started dropping and it got steep, and some of the switchbacks were pretty tight, and I was in front of her, rolling in first gear, talking to her the whole time, you know, just telling her, you know, here's what we're doing. We're just rolling in first gear. We're not picking up speed. If you do feel like you're picking up speed, just drag your back brake a little bit, or one finger on the front brake. Control your speed. You know, you're not going to run out of control. If you control it, it'll work. And she got around those corners pretty good. You know, one of them I stopped. One of them was pretty tight. So I stopped to take a picture, and she rolled on around it by herself, and then went a little further, and Daniel came by and went a little further, and I got a video of him too. And it was a pretty good run. Eventually we got down to a paved road, and man, awesome highway. And one spot where there's all these unbelievable homes on the side of the mountain, private runway, airplanes parked everywhere. It's got a Ducati Multistrada going by the other way, and I'm thinking, wow, that bike sounds really good. And then I realize it's an airplane taking off on the other side of the road from me, the direction I'm not looking, right as the guy goes by. And I'm thinking, man, what kind of pipes this guy got on that thing? And then the airplane lifts off, and I see it out of the corner of my eye taking off. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so we got to this little town called Loman, which is where we dropped back out on 21. I think we were on 55 when we went over the mountain and finally got back to pavement and turned east. And we ran 55 up to a little town called Loman, stopped at a little mercantile there that had some picnic tables and shade, and met some other guys that were riding one of the BDRs. You know, got some snacks, just hung out, chilled out, got some Gatorade. It was a really pretty spot. And then we got back on 21 and just started heading east. We were trying to get to Stanley, which was 57 miles or so, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful paved ride. I mean, just incredible scenery up here. Stanley's a really neat town. Some, again, amazing homes perched up on cliffs and things like that. But, you know, there's some lodges and restaurants. There's a nice gas station there. The Salmon River runs right by it. We kind of made a big circle, you know, where we had camped a while back at the headwaters of the Salmon River. We went south and then west towards Boise. And then out of Boise, we went back north and east and came in over the top and reconnected with Highway 75 eventually. And then ran 75 from Stanley up to Chalice, which was 60-something miles of following the river canyon. And wow, you know, and it was getting late in the evening because the detour of not being able to go over 21 the way we originally were going to go, and stopping and getting the personal tour of the museums and stuff. I mean, it was getting late in the day. So by the time we got to Stanley, I want to say it was 6 o'clock. And I called the campground to make sure they had sites, and she said, yeah, they were, you know, they had tons of sites. There's hardly anybody here. There's a few RVs. I don't think there's another tent other than us. That run down the river canyon was just awesome. And Sarah and Daniel did really, really well. I kept stopping to take pictures. My communicator battery, I guess my communicator's dying. You know, the battery charges really fast and it doesn't last that long anymore. So almost as soon as we left Stanley, I started getting a low battery alert on the communicator, so I just shut it off. The problem is, for some reason, my communicator is acting like a master, and if my communicator is off or out of range of the other two, they can't talk to each other. So basically we lose all 3 communicators, which is really, really annoying, and I don't know how to fix that yet. Came real close to buying some Cardo Pack Talk Edge when we were in Boise, and I probably should have, but that, man, I'm spending so much money I didn't want to spend on this trip right now. But anyway, got down that canyon. I stopped to take a lot of pictures, so I would just wave the kids by, and then I'd zip on by to catch up to them. That way I got to have my fun running the pace I kind of want to run. And Daniel's doing a really good job of keeping track of Sarah and, you know, not running off and leaving her, either riding behind her or, you know, standing ahead of her, but keeping her in sight, you know. And we got to Chalice. There's a little, I think it's called 7C gas stop or something right at the intersection. Had a little deli, went in, got, I got a breakfast burrito. Daniel got a big old hamburger, and I think Sarah got pizza or something. But really good food, 24-hour gas, really nice people. And Daniel said that Sarah was riding really, really well on that road. And now her version of that was, yeah, I was messing up every corner, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I followed her for a lot. And, you know, she needs to give herself credit. She really is riding well. She's just such a perfectionist that, you know, I kept trying to tell her tonight, it's like, look, perfect never gets anything done. If you're trying to be perfect, you know, and you let not being perfect stop you, perfect never gets anything done. You got to learn that good enough is what gets it done. And that doesn't mean you be sloppy, but you're getting it done, you know. Even guys like Valentino Rossi crashed their bikes. You know, sure, they're riding in the extreme at the edge, but, you know, still good enough gets it done. And that's you know, that's a life lesson kind of thing too. You know, it's sometimes you just got to make decisions and you got to move, and things may not work out exactly the way you want. You may not have exactly the answers you need to make a decision, but you just got to make a decision and roll with it and see what happens and adjust on the fly. And that's kind of what this whole trip's been like. Obviously, you know, I don't know, this is day 18 and we should already be way up in northern Idaho and Glacier National Park. You know, I was thinking we'd be in Glacier by Labor Day, and we're not even close. So, you know, end of the trip, we'll probably have to lop off 5 or 6 days, 7 days, you know, in Colorado, which not the end of the world. I'd kind of been, when I was laying out the routes, I kind of had that in mind anyway. Like, you know, these would be like bonus days. If we actually get through everything and we actually get to Colorado and we still have money and we have time, sure, you know, we'll try to get those days done. And, but, you know, that's the way it goes. We may not be able to get them done. Well, tomorrow, you know, is supposed to be a short day. Today was supposed to be a short day. Today was supposed to be a 4-hour ride. We left at 9. We got to the campsite at 8:30. Hot tubs closed at 9. They drain the things every night to clean them out for some reason. So we didn't even get to sit in the hot tub or the hot springs, which is like, you know, they come out and they put it in a big swimming pool. And that was the whole point of coming to this stupid campground, was because I wanted to, you know, do the hot springs, and we didn't get to do that. So whatever, you know, the place we stayed last night, the shower was a nightmare. The only way to get enough pressure to make the shower head work was to have cold water coming out. If you turned it towards the hot water, it lost pressure to the point where the shower head wouldn't stay engaged. And even if you sat there and held the button to make it stay engaged, the water was just trickling out. So that was a little disappointing, especially as sore as I was from all the walking we've done the last few days. So I was really looking forward to the hot springs here, but oh well. I think the place we're staying tomorrow over in Montana on the other side of the Bitterroots, Elk Lodge or Elkhorn Lodge or something like that. They've got a pretty big hot spring, so I'm really hoping that one will be open and will be good. So anyway, beautiful night. I don't know that you can really even see it out here, but you know, there's a full moon. The campground is lit up. I mean, I can see just like it's daytime almost. I don't even need my light on. I'm just doing that for the video. But awesome. Can't really see many stars right now because the moon's so bright. But whatever. We'll get to that later. So that's it for day 18. Hopefully day 19 will be a shorter day so we can soak in the hot tubs tomorrow. Good night.